Check for the Young Money compilation. You know, I have Beam Me Up Scotty.
Yeah.
You guys can always get that on NickiMinajFans.com.
Our first show was at a club in our hood, and everybody came. It was so packed.
Since the end of the traditional golden age of hip-hop, rap consumers, frustrated with the conveyor belt mass production of the genre, have looked towards the underground. It's a vaguish term with no unanimously agreed qualifications to describe your most underrated rapper who doesn't have the clout you think they deserve. While underground rap has moved from a space where artists eventually move out of to a prestige collective, like most of hip-hop culture, women have been left out. I'm Sayou Cooper, and this is The Griots, reporting on hip-hop culture through a mix of soapbox editorials, weird commercial breaks, and some very serious guests.
It's that time again, legendary voice of the streets freestyle with the General Kenny All-Star. Now, I've been looking forward to this one for a minute. You see, last year, this girl had the game in a headlock. When Bossed Up came out, hella viral. And if you check the back catalogue, she didn't come overnight. She's been doing her thing. Now, she's getting her flowers. And it's about time she sets levels in the voice of the streets freestyle. Chai Cartier in the building. Chai, you ready?
I'm ready when you're ready.
Starting off with a Tottenham newcomer, Shy Cartier dropped her debut mixtape, No Bring-Ins, on April 4th. I had seen her name before, but she formally popped up on my radar through my Instagram feed, Heady One sharing his verse on her Yo track from last October. Drill was one of the few rap subgenres I followed from the beginning, so when the Chief Keef Young Chop era ended, I moved on to the next best option, which was UK Drill. When it came to women or queer identities in the subgenre, there weren't many. There was Shabo, and I did follow Ivorian Doll for a bit. Due to the smaller infrastructure of UK hip-hop and the added misogynoir being a black woman in the industry, it was much harder for these women to have long-term success. Shy Cartier has arrived at a much better time.
Right. But one thing that connects us is the fact that we're both from Sierra Leone.
No, is it? What chart? Yeah, go on.
Yeah.
No, literally.
Do I understand griot is the next one? Okay, do you?
I do, a little bit.
No way.
Yeah.
So if I say how the body, you're going to say?
The body finer.
Oh, period.
Come on.
It's the O.
Yeah.
As noted by Pitchfork in their review of the project, the 12-track No Bring-Ins mixtape is divided into two parts. The first half, more heavy turn-up drill in tracks like Real Boss Chick, No Bring-Ins, Different Kettle, Not the One, Yo, and Shush. My sound is motivational. I make music for the ambitious and daring. I prioritize releasing tunes that are jumpy, hard-hitting, and equally relatable to my audience. Chai told Trench magazine in 2024. On the other half of the tape, the rapper gets slightly melodic and introspective. A switch you first hear on track number 5, Problem. Good approach, Crazy, and Locked In are such girly songs to me. Chai going on about her crushes and navigating the industry as someone who deserves it all. Finally, ending the mixtape with Weakest Link, the next single being heavily pushed by her team. With the ad-libs, it's classic Chai. Girl boss verses over some of the best drill beats out right now.
Drill has evolved to incorporate a bunch of different topics. If you listen to people like Heady One and K-Trap, they're not just talking about, enacting violence. They're talking about their lives. They're talking about their hopes, their dreams.
Now, of course, much of the violence and the sort of, criminal lifestyle is commodified. But again, I would, personally, I would let, drill rappers off the hook a little bit because, that's what's actually celebrated by an entire market that loves to consume that stuff.
Last year, we investigated the UK drill scene with the help of sources Lambros Fatis and Yemi Abiade, who talked a lot about its creation and criminalization. Shy Cartier's identity as a young, dark-skinned black woman in this rap subgenre is very interesting. The rapper appears comfortable in the fact that yes, this is a boys' club, but doesn't contour her artistry to meet the brethren's gaze. But we can't leave the UK yet without mentioning Bex, another underground talent. She's more grime in comparison to Shy Cartier's drill. If you need a reference on grime, think Riley or Dizzy Rascal, who performed at London's 2012 Olympic opening ceremony. Last year, Bex dropped her EP One Time with Back It Up being a popular track. Strong features artists too. I've enjoyed her on Len's Hot and Cold and Rico's Assassin Rhythm.
We want to bring you some developing news in the last hour on a story we mentioned a little bit earlier. A U.S. immigration judge has ruled that the student, Mahmoud Khalil, who led pro-Palestinian protests at Columbia University in New York last year, can be deported.
We interrupt our regular scheduled programming this week to talk about fascism, particularly America's fascist state.
Fascism, this term, it's come back into common parlance to describe the ordering of social and economic relations in the United States. And I think it's because white people get to write themselves into a narrative of oppression actor. Now all of a sudden everything is fascist. But in 2014 in Ferguson, was people saying this is fascism? Tanks being called, that is the definition of fascism, a military force being called on a citizen.
If you watch long enough to make it to our closing credits, you'll know as editor-in-chief of the platform, I'm reporting from the east coast of the American Empire. But if we're being geographically accurate, just the east coast of the United States of America, since America's neocolonialism stretches to South Korea, located in the northern and eastern hemisphere. Due to the current political and social conditions of America and its imperialist, capitalist, and racist allies globally, it's important for all hip-hop heads to be on high alert right now. Hip-hop is political and the culture is much bigger than rap beef between questionable men. The Griots extends our solidarity with victims and survivors of settler colonialism and atrocities of the global north's exploitation. We're deeply concerned by the kidnappings and disappearance of residents in America who've been denied fair legal process. We must not fall into the trap of hysteria and fear orchestrated by the state and push onward with the liberation of all oppressed peoples. For our subscribers and hip-hop heads globally, let us know how you're fighting the power. It doesn't have to be huge actions, but smaller things you're doing with friends or community. I first heard of Backxwash from viewers like you. She was the most recommended rapper in the comments from episode 13, which explored homo hop and the newer generation of queer hip-hop. Before even hearing Backxwash's music, you're immediately struck by her visual identity. When she's not barefaced as Ashanti Mutinta, on stage as Backxwash, her face is painted black, white crosses on her forehead, and eye makeup that reminds you of rock bands from the 80s. Born in Zambia, Backxwash moved to Canada at 17 to live with her siblings and came out as trans at 25. From a 2022 profile with Kerrang, Backxwash noted religion as a big influence in her identity. I find Christian mythology to be pretty scary. When I moved to Montreal, a lot of my thinking was being challenged. I thought religion would be something that would guide me through life back then, but things really changed when I grew up. You realize these practices were put on us by the first missionaries that came through in the 1800s. They used the Bible as their way of colonizing. The Bible being used to oppress you is kind of disheartening. On March 28th, through Ugly Hag Records, Backxwash released her album Only Dust Remains. It's 10 tracks, clocking in around 40 minutes. Speaking frankly, I went into the listen nervous since I'm not an avid listener of heavy metal, but found the tape to be a smooth listen despite the gloomy content. I loved the Bollywood sample on Undesirable and the production of Wake Up, track number 2 on the album. I left my listen of Only Dust Remains feeling cathartic rather than sad. Through wellness industries and the corporate washing of genuine social movements, we're constantly being sold on how to better our lives, that our happiness is more attainable than we think. Backxwash's words on death, love, depression, politics, and more grants you access into a life that can feel very painful but also free. From Montreal, we'll head on over to Atlanta to the Wham Whammy girls. The duo Pluto and YK Nice went TikTok viral this year with their song Wham Whammy. Ayer can't get no coochie out the queen, put some Louis on this butt. Every couple scrolls down my For You page. Looking at the femme rap space, the South has such a dense roster ranging from mainstream to the underground. Wham Whammy is a catchy and fun song, and it'll be interesting to see how far the duo go since they're not officially a group. Parallel to the City Girls Come Up, just two friends who decided to make a song. Post the 2010s, one viral hit can propel you into stardom you never imagined, but the current drama circulating about the two's friendship is distracting. Instead of feeding into a wishy-washy social media audience, hopefully Pluto and YK Nice see the bigger picture that both of them can win and not just one. I've been recording a lot. I have like 300 songs. I don't know what I'm going to do with them. I don't know if I want to be mysterious or if I want to be like NBA Youngboy and release a mixtape every month. Georgia native Veda said for Office Magazine. For Q1, the producer turned rapper released Vatrix Reloaded on January 31st, the deluxe version of her 2024 album Vatrix. She doesn't write, just freestyles over beats her team at Rock Nation describes as untidy and chaotic like a good basement rave.
Let's just turn me up. Let's just turn me up. Let's just turn me up.
But I'm so glad that I was able to figure out how to fund my movement independently and go and get distribution in.
It's Diva, bitch. Vibe was on in the studio, like I was just happy to be there. I guess.
With more than 1.5 million monthly listeners on Spotify and a record deal with Warner Records, is BK the ruler and underground rapper? What about Anicia, who's independent with around 1 million monthly Spotify listeners? 30 or even 20 years ago, it wasn't so hard to know the difference from underground and mainstream. Underground was your local rapper no one knew past the city limits, or the crew distributing their own tapes. Being the client of a major music label was a disqualifier, and you certainly weren't charting anywhere near Billboard's Hot 100. With the globalization of hip-hop and the creation of social media, most hip-hop heads have niche rap tastes. I know this from creating episodes for you. Through your referrals and tips, each week I'm in a different space, listening to unfamiliar catalogs, watching music videos, and reading a lot of artist interviews. Our last showcase spots go to rappers Dila and Baby Sosa. Dila is a Nigerian living in the UK, while Baby Sosa is a Richmond, Virginia native who recently moved to Los Angeles from New York. Dila dropped one of my favorite songs last year, Patience Ozokwo, and Baby Sosa has been going viral on TikTok since the 2020 pandemic. Her 2024 track Chanel is the most recent sensation. Both rap on funky beats. Dila stays in that Lagos UK alternative lane compared to Baby Sosa, who fluctuates her voice over synth and trap beats. Reporting from the east coast of the American Empire, I'm Sayou Cooper, and this is The Griots. I wrote and produced this episode. Our theme song for this season is Jaws by Suzuki-san. Our Instagram and other cool stuff can be found on our website. Links are always in the description. Thank you to the ancestors. Until next time.